Pittsburgh Steelers could go 4 weeks without Diontae Johnson, and if they do, they have to have some sort of plan. They cannot just walk into this situation and say, oh, well, our top receiver has gone down. We'll move forward. Whether that's internal or external, we'll find out, but they have options. What's going on, everybody? I'm Noah Strackbein. Thank you for jumping on to Steelers to Go, your daily to-go cup of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/allsteelerstalkers. Subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. Today, we're talking about Diontae Johnson, a huge blow for the Pittsburgh Steelers offense that could not come at a worse time. Kenny Pickett's struggles are real. At this point, everything that we saw during the summer, everything that we saw in the preseason, it goes away. It vanishes. Kenny Pickett's regular season has one game in it, and that resume is rough. At all accounts, he looked poor, whether it was accuracy, timing, or just pocket presence as a whole, comfortability within or behind the line of scrimmage. He didn't have any of it. And I expect that to grow. I expect him to get better as the weeks go on, and I expect week 2 to be a pretty significant jump from week 1. But he still needs help. He's not going to do this alone. And to lose your top wide receiver at this point is as crucial as it comes. And how the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to handle this situation could be the do-or-die moment, do-or-die decision for at least the next 4 weeks of their season. Now they have options. And before we get into them, this is how Kenny Pickett envisions replacing Diontae Johnson and how the Steelers are going to go about it.
Kenny, what do you feel like was the biggest adjustment you've had to make this week?
I wouldn't say it was too much of an adjustment. We just didn't play well. We didn't execute. It was nowhere near what we needed to be. So, keep the preparation the same. I thought the preparation for the week was good. It's just about going out there and playing well and executing.
Kenny, when you looked at your performance, was it throws you didn't make, or would you like to have a couple back?
Yeah, definitely want a couple back early on, especially. I think it's a different game if we hit some early on and put points up and just kind of keep the pressure going back and forth. But I need to definitely be a lot better. We as an offense will be better. I'm excited to get back out there Monday.
So do you think it was decision making or just throwing it?
No, I was good with my decisions. It was just throwing in the execution.
What is it in your experience that you feel confident that you can bounce back from a performance like that?
Confidence in myself, the team, the guys around me. I know everyone's going to answer the bell. We're going to come out and play on Monday. So love the energy we have around here. Love the practice that we had today. Everyone's putting their best foot forward this week. So it's just about going out there Monday night, competing and winning.
Do you believe in football?
When you look back at the film, were you disappointed by what you saw, and how do you bounce back?
Yeah, obviously that's a really easy answer. Of course we are. We didn't play nearly as well as we've been playing and how we can play. So it is what it is. It's 24-hour rule. Same as if you win. You can't celebrate too long. You can't dwell on a loss too long. You let them beat you twice. So that's the main takeaway.
Mike said that football justice is a reason why he believes you can bounce back. You put in the work. Therefore, karma will kind of come back around. Is football justice something that you kind of believe in that way?
I believe you got to go get what you got to go get it. No one's going to hand it to you. It's not going to be easy. I don't think you just kind of roll out there and hope it happens. Like you said, you got to put the work in to make it happen, and go execute and play. So that's all I want to do. Have fun, go out there, play, cut loose. See what happens.
Kenny, on a few occasions, Coach Tomlin during his press conference talked about how good Cleveland's corners were against the good wide receivers for Cincinnati.
Yep.
How do you guys plan to attack that, combat that, go around that if you have to?
Yeah, a ton of respect for those guys, and great defense, great team. Held a really good offense to 3 points. So obviously it's a tall order, but we go out there, execute, play well. I'm confident we'll go out there and put points on the board.
Kenny, how difficult is it to replace Diontae, and what about these guys makes you confident that you could?
Yeah, I think it's by committee. Obviously, Diontae's a really good player, does so many good things for us, and was really kind of trending in the right way. I thought we had a great offseason and was doing great things in the game. Just now it's everyone's got to step up and pick it up. It can't just be one guy. But I have a ton of reps with everybody, so I'm confident they'll go out there and execute.
Kenny, you were 6 for 6 in targeting Calvin last week. What's the confidence level in him, and going along with Diontae being injured? How much confidence do you have in and him stepping in for a guy like Diontae?
Yeah, it's been high. It's always been high on Calvin. He does a great job. He works so hard, always where I need him to be. So I think that's why we had success working together, and I'm excited to get him back out there Monday, continue that success.
Kenny, how important is momentum is important to establish momentum, especially in the passing game early, so that you guys can get into your rhythm and get that going?
Yeah, it's big. I mean, you just want to get a first down, get the chains moving, and get into the flow of the game. So that's what we want to get into on Monday night. Get back to playing our kind of football, and then just see where it goes.
You touched on it a little bit, but just how do you describe the mood among you guys, kind of turning the page here and going into this week?
Yeah, the mood's been good. Like you said, it's 24-hour rule. Whether you win or lose, you have to keep that perspective. You can't change just because you win or change because you lose. You kind of keep everything the same, and you just find a rhythm in the weeks as they go. But I think the guys did a good job of turning the page 24 hours, fixing what we need to get fixed, and excited to play on Monday.
Do you have to establish more of a running game this week?
I mean, yeah, we didn't.
Their options are both internal and external. They could stick with what they got, and I talked about it yesterday, that George Pickens becomes wide receiver 1, and this is the first time that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to rely on him to become a Justin Jefferson or a Terry McLaurin or a Odell Beckham Jr. or whoever you want to toss out there that fits the mold of that wide receiver 1, that true, reliable wide receiver. Well, Pickens has said that he could be the best wide receiver in football, and frankly, I think he's got the skill set to be, but he's got to put it on the field. All that hype has to match play, and this is his biggest opportunity to do so. I don't believe that the Pittsburgh Steelers, no matter what they choose to do, replace Pickens as their wide receiver 1. He is their guy. He's the guy that they're going to look to build an offense around, to build a passing scheme around. It all now revolves around George Pickens, who offers a very different skill set than Diontae Johnson, which means that Matt Canada and company are going to have to adjust. You could think about that as you will. You could have your worries as you will. Pickens will be their wide receiver 1. Calvin Austin will come into the mix heavily, and Allen Robinson is not going anywhere. Those 3 guys will remain top targets for the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are very comfortable with all 3 of those guys. They're going to let all 3 of those guys be Kenny Pickett's 1-2-3 punch. But they had 4 wide receivers in week 1, and they utilized all 4 of them. They had 4 wide receivers in the preseason, and they utilized all 4 of them. And they had 4 wide receivers throughout training camp, and they utilized all 4 of them. So chances are they want to have 4 wide receivers as well. And as impressive as Gunnar Olszewski was throughout training camp and even last summer as well, he's not a guy that on Sundays is going to show up and catch 6-7 passes. He's just not. But Calvin Austin caught 6 passes in his week 1 debut as wide receiver 4. So that should be the expectation, the bar that your wide receiver 4 should set. Gunnar Olszewski, I don't believe is that guy. Miles Boykin, I don't believe is that guy. And I think both of them offer very quality skill sets that the Pittsburgh Steelers can utilize, just not as that we need somebody who could come out here and catch 6 passes in a game type of player. Now, there's a few options. You can go outside of Pittsburgh, and you could look at a name that has been on the block for a while now. I have heard from sources way back in the spring that Hunter Renfrow of the Las Vegas Raiders is a name to watch as a possible trade candidate that the Raiders are looking to get rid of. At the time, it was more so about injury. Well, everybody was thinking this guy is coming off of an oblique injury. They're going to get rid of him because they signed him to a mega contract and then he got hurt. So you don't know how everything's going to work itself out. You're a little worried, or at least they're a little worried. They want to get rid of him. Well, he's a quality receiver. Before he got hurt, he had 103 receptions, 1,038 yards, and 9 touchdowns in 2021. 2022, he gets hurt after signing his major deal, misses most of the season. Now, you have a coaching change, a quarterback change. The offense looks very new. No need for Hunter Renfrow. And you thought, okay, that's just got to be about the injury. Once he gets on the field, everything will change. Well, in week 1, he completed his first NFL game without a catch. He played just 13 offensive snaps. That does not seem like a guy that the Raiders are very into, and it seems like a guy that the Raiders might be open to trading. Now rumors have emerged once again that Renfrow is a possible trade candidate for a wide receiver needy team, and if you don't remember what we're talking about how the Pittsburgh Steelers could be a wide receiver needy team. Renfro makes a lot of sense for the Pittsburgh Steelers. He could play inside and he could play outside. He's mostly a slot receiver, but Calvin Austin is a guy that you're going to want to work out on the outside. He does a lot of damage on the outside. He could run routes very well. He could be a deep threat. And I don't want to bash on Matt Canada a little bit, but he loves to run the go route. And, well, Calvin Austin is a go route machine with that speed. So you could put him on the outside. Then you have Allen Robinson, who's inside and outside capable, and then Hunter Renfrow, who's also inside, outside capable. It fills a lot of needs. Yeah, at some point you're going to have a lot of slot guys, but it seems that even when Diontae Johnson comes back, Calvin Austin's more of an outside guy than an inside guy, and that's how the Steelers are going to work with him. If the Steelers are really looking to make a trade, Renfrow seems like the easiest option. He's got a huge cap hit this season, but I would imagine Omar Khan, if he does make a move, isn't going to take it all on. It just seems like an Omar Khan thing to do, to say, hey, look, you got to take most of that contract, but we'll give you a little bit of compensation in return. And things seem to work out for the Pittsburgh Steelers in that manner. Next year, he only takes a $5.5 million dead cap hit, which means that if the Pittsburgh Steelers choose to move on from him, fine. If not, he's only going to be 29 years old. The guy's still got time. And now you have Diontae Johnson, Renfrow. Allen Robinson is a name that chances are is going to be on the open market because his cap hit in 2024 is ginormous. So you're not going to keep him around. Renfrow can replace him, and then you still have 4, even if Renfrow is the guy that is your 4th wide receiver. And I get it. Paying $13 million to a 4th wide receiver is insane, but it's an option. That's all I'm going to say is it is an option. You could stay in-house and you could hang out with Gunnar Olszewski, but there's a name on the practice squad that I think you could call up and maybe fill some roles here. Maybe take a little bit of pressure off. That name is Des Fitzpatrick, who impressed all summer long. The guy from training camp or OTAs to training camp to the preseason at no moment walked away and said, oh, that was a poor performance. Even when he didn't catch a pass, good performances on special teams. The guy knows how to play football. He's impressed. He's looked very good. The Pittsburgh Steelers kept him on the practice squad, I think, without any question. When they had a couple, and I mean like a real couple of wide receiver options that they could have kept around, including names like Cody White, who has been here forever, and Hakeem Butler, who was an XFL star, who everybody had their eyes on. Des Fitzpatrick earned his way onto that practice squad, and I know that's not an active roster, but it's pretty close, and you could call him up. At that moment, you have 6 again. Dez is more of an offensive guy, I believe, than Miles Boykin or Gunnar Olszewski is. I think you could utilize him if you really want to on the outside. He also offers that outside ability, which right now Miles Boykin would be your only option there. Gunnar Olszewski is not an outside guy. If you want another outside guy, Dez Fitzpatrick might be your best bet. But I'll tell you the name that I think rounds all of this out either way. And it's not an option to replace Diontae Johnson, but I think it's a name that's going to explode onto the scene. That is not George Pickens. And I believe George Pickens, like I said, wide receiver 1, the guy that the Steelers are going to utilize as that reliable set of hands. Boom, all the time. This is Kenny and George. Pickens to Pickett, or Pickett to Pickens is full blast. Calvin Austin is about to do a lot of good for the Pittsburgh Steelers offense. Calvin Austin is about to be a name that comes out here and catches underneath passes. Calvin Austin is going to be a name that catches some go routes. Calvin Austin is going to be a name that runs the football. Calvin Austin is going to be a name that does it all, that the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to say, okay, we are down our best wide receiver. We have George Pickens, who is the most reliable set of hands in football, as long as you could just get the football within 10 yards of him. Allen Robinson proved very quickly that he is still Allen Robinson. Nothing has changed. And then you have Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington and company who could all do good things. Calvin Austin's going to be a name that they say, look, we gotta make a spark. We got to get creative. We have to disguise our offense and try to confuse defenses and set things up a little bit differently and utilize weapons that other teams do not have or are not capable of covering. Calvin Austin is that guy. They're going to utilize Calvin all the time. Calvin Austin's going to come out here in a billion different ways and a billion different looks and a billion different sets. And if you were lucky enough to draft this guy in fantasy football, good job. I wish you all the best over the next 4 weeks because things are going to get good. If you didn't, go get him because he's going to be good. They have options. The Pittsburgh Steelers are going to utilize everything they can. I don't know how things go. It's almost impossible to replace a name like Diontae Johnson. And I get it that they do have options, and those options even sound pretty quality. But it's still Diontae Johnson. And I think Diontae Johnson is one of the best wide receivers in football and one of the most difficult players to replace because his skill set is so unique in the NFL. And nobody gets as open as this guy. In a young quarterback, that's exactly what you want. Somebody who's always open. We're going to see that adjustment period from Kenny Pickett, but we're also going to see a lot of these guys burst onto the scene. It's going to be an exciting time. It's going to be a very difficult time, but it's going to be a bit of an experiment for the Pittsburgh Steelers. An experiment that could go very well, could go very, very poorly, but one that I think we should all be excited to witness.